Be still my heart.
Another tale to break your heart this Valentine's Day.
Welcome to Cinema Therapy.
If you like horror movie content, hit that like and follow button.
I'm Randy.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Hard Eyes.
Yes.
We went and saw Hard Eyes.
Yes.
It's in theaters now.
It came out February 7th, and it's going to be out probably for another month or so.
Yeah, it's right in time for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's been getting a big hit at the box office.
It has. It opened okay. And then Valentine's Day weekend, it actually jumped up.
Oh, yeah.
And made more money than the first opening weekend that it had. So here's to getting a sequel, maybe.
Oh, yeah. No, when we went in, we went on Valentine's Day. It was packed. Everyone went there with everyone. They brought their whole families. They brought their couples. Brought their dates. It was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a little too full for my taste, but it was fine.
It was awfully busy.
It did make for an interesting viewing experience, though.
Right. The people in the audience were funny.
Oh God, people! You tell that half the audience was not desensitized. These were people that went to horror just to get scared because they did get scared. You could tell this is not their usual thing. This is not their usual walk in the park.
Yeah. The movie was really good, though. It was a really good slasher. We haven't had a good Valentine's Day slasher since, 2001.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good. I loved it. I kind of watched it twice. So on the first watch, I absolutely loved it. Second watch, I think I probably liked it just a tad bit less. I think I was overhyped because of the audience and because I was so interested to see this one, and it was actually kind of fun. I think watching a second time without the extra people in the audience and watching it, in a quieter setting in the theaters, it kind of illuminates some things for me. And I kind of saw it just for what it was more than just all the kind of the ambiance of the people watching it with me as well. Got to have a more critical viewing of the movie. But either way, this is a really fun little slasher.
It has horror icons Jordana Brewster and Devon Sawa.
And Mason Gooding now from Scream. It was a different kind of slasher movie too. I mean, they did the whole I think we've had a lot of Valentine's Day slashers. One thing I think this tried to do differently, I don't know if it was, and some people didn't like this, I think, about the movie, I think, was the fact that it tried to be a rom-com and at the same time a horror movie. So the horror was not horror comedy. It wasn't just the standard horror comedy too. Even when it's about a romance story, this was very much I think people said it best where it's it's a Hallmark movie and then at the same time it's a horror movie.
Right.
It really is that, because these characters are just it shows a relationship. It's very dramatic and very corny almost, the way that things are done, and almost a little bit too much at times, I realize, but it's fun. The opening sequence is really great. The kills happen very viciously and very right off the bat they happen. Very aggressively and very quickly they happen. And it wasn't in a way where the first kill was a big deal. Usually I've seen slasher movies where the first kill is such a big deal. This one was sort of just it happens and you're oh. And it's very abrupt. I would say that's what this movie style was too. It was very abrupt. Which I think is sort of the style of Spyglass movies I've seen now, especially with Scream 6 and how they do stuff. There's some things that are big, but some things are just abrupt. And we know Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
Kind of the same vibes there.
Yeah, but more
violent. I think when I was watching the second time, the rom-com scenes didn't land with me as much as they did the first time. But the chemistry between Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding was really nice. They had a good chemistry on screen. They were fun to watch. I think there were some scenes. There's a scene where they're getting chased and he goes back to a cop car and she's like, well, I'm sorry I didn't defend you, because he's getting all upset because he got arrested by the police officers at the moment because they think he might be the killer because of suspicious alibis. And when he's in the cop car, he's like, well, thank you for not saving me. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, you have like all these muscles and you're ripped and whatever. He's like, those muscles are for cuddling. And it was just the most ridiculous, like, script ever. It was just...
It's funny.
Oh my gosh. Just, it was so cheesy and over the top. It was funny. But, I mean, the killers... I kind of guessed the killers pretty quickly. I guessed one of the killers really quickly.
Yes, if you haven't noticed, there's 2 killers.
Sorry, I kind of already spoiled it. There's more than one killer.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say how many, but there's more than one
But
killer.
there are the Hard Eyes killer. Spoil the killers.
No.
Actually, that doesn't spoil.
There's a point where the killer, there's a point where I thought the killer was someone I knew, and I was like, oh, maybe it is them. And then in the end, you're like, oh no, it's not the killer. And then you're like, wait a second, that it is them as well. And so there's more than one killer. I was like, oh my gosh, I was right. And they do all these things, I feel like, with this person to where they make it seem like they're suspicious. Like, if you've seen the movie, if you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's like a character that seems like very much like they know certain alibis, or they're around these characters a lot, and the ways they reference things, the way they talk about things, it makes it so painfully visible to me, which it did make me angry. I think it kind of found it funny because this is a movie where it's supposed to be kind of over the top again, and I think it's almost just like it was kind of meta in a way. The whole like comedy aspect of this film, the way they do the romance, the way they do the murder mystery aspect, like trying to figure things out, I thought it was kind of very much like a Clue kind of scenario where everything was over the top. There's also a scene that I didn't understand where like the characters break a window and I think it was supposed to be funny. I thought it was kind of like stupid, and then I laughed, but it was just like she locks herself out of the apartment and they both decide that it's a good idea to break in, and I was just like, oh. Like, there's certain things that, like, the character decisions don't always add up for me this movie, I realized, but a lot of the comedy lands, it's just some of it doesn't. I think they wanted to try so hard to, like, make it work that it didn't always work, if that makes sense.
Oh, I think it worked.
It did, but, like, there are certain scenes where it didn't.
Being from someone that loves romantic comedies, I think the romantic comedy worked.
Yes, but sometimes, like, where they were trying so hard to make it,
and I think that was the point of them making it, was cheesy.
Yes.
Like, this is a cheesy slasher comedy horror.
But, like, certain decisions just didn't seem smart. Like, I think, like...
not every decision in a horror movie you're gonna be smart.
No, but, like, I mean, the one of, like, the running away from the killer, or the leaving a footprint behind, or just, like, making a gasp, or taunting the killer, all things we're used to. It was more like... just when the killer's not around, you're like, oh, she locked herself out, and she's like, I'm gonna break in, the landlord loves me. He's like, oh, well, like, you shouldn't do that. This is how you throw a punch. At first I thought it was like a funny little banter moment between the two characters, like getting to like know each other, and then she's like, and then he's like, well, actually, I can repair you. Here's a hanky, and he does it, and then he like cuts his hand, and it's just like, oh. I don't know. But the opening way they met, I loved. A lot of the chase scenes were really good. I thought that was one of the things that worked the best with this movie, alongside the chemistry, was the chase scenes. The way they did them was really captivating and kept you kind of engaged with the movie. There was just some really fun moments with the kills that would happen.
They're pretty gross.
There's this one scene that's really funny too, where Mason Gooding and Olivia Holt run back to this car in a drive-in theater, and they're trying to run away from the killer. And they get in the car of these hippies that are doing it in the car. And oh my gosh, it's just hilarious because they're trying to have this deep, meaningful, romantic conversation with everything that's going on in the backseat of the van. And because the trailer teases it, you know what's coming. And as soon as it comes, you're like, oh my gosh, and it happens, and it's just hilarious. So the character's trying to tell them to shut up, and they don't shut up, and
yeah.
And like literally right after that, it's like when things happen, and then they have to run again. And they're like, no, we have to do this. We're not gonna run away. We let him here. We're gonna stop him before he kills everyone else. And they play like this song by Casey and the Sunshine Band, and it was hilarious. And they just slow walk up to the killer, and they have this like epic like thing, and then they kill the killer, and you're like, what? And it's almost like a Scream 6 moment where you're like, oh, they killed the person. And then you're like, wait a second, that seems too convenient. And then there's a twist. I like this movie. I think there are certain things that like could have been given more time to, like the police officers, especially with Devon Sawa. I think certain characters could have gotten more screen time, like Devon Sawa or the best friend. I think they were fun. I think there were some fun characters that weren't as explored in this movie. But I also realized it was focused on these two characters and their relationship dynamic.
Yeah, because the Hard Eyes Killer goes after couples. And the Hard Eyes Killer thinks that they're a couple, but they're really business partners.
It happens because she's
on a business proposal
she
work.
sees her ex when they're going out to dinner. They're leaving the restaurant, and just when they're about to go their own separate ways after a bad encounter at the restaurant, she's like, "Oh, I don't want to see you." And then all of a sudden, like she knows that her ex, so she decides to kiss him, and then they see that, and so is a Hard Eyes Killer. And so instead of going after her ex-boyfriend, who's heartless, as well as his girlfriend, they go out. He goes after Mason, going and living in the hole because he sees them kiss because he thinks they're a couple. So yeah. Well, actually, if you're single, you might actually be lucky. I think this is like the thing that this movie is like. It's not going after just anybody. If it's only going after couples. So if you're single, that's actually a plus here. You don't want to be in a couple.
Anyways, don't forget about the cool goggles.
Yeah. I know, they only go off in, I think, like, a couple scenes where, like, the night vision goggles happen. And so, the red eyes, they light up because it's, like, a night vision goggle thing. It's really crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And they use it in one scene in the police station when they're being chased down. Like they're, like, chasing down Olivia Holt and everyone inside the jail. And it was just, I think the trailer made me think I was going to see more of, and I didn't. But, I mean, it was still cool. Yeah, a lot of the scenes with the Hard Eyes Killer was also dark. You didn't get to see the mask very detailed. Yeah. That was one thing, is I feel like the mask was already sort of hidden, but it was like one of those, it's basically like, if you can't already tell, it's basically a hard eyes emoji. It's like a yellow face with a smiley face and then two hard eyes. Literally, that's I think what they're calling it, the Hard Eyes Killer, because he has hard eyes, but it's also like the hard eye emoji. I think it's all connected, because it looks like that, just creepier. But yeah, some fun kills. I think the trailer made me, I think they teased it to make me think it was going to be gorier than it actually was. Not that it wasn't gory, but I think the trailer made me think there's going to be a lot more carnage, and there was less than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, at least specified carnage. Like a lot of people died, but a lot of them were just like quick kills that kind of just happened, or like it was an off-screen kill, etc. Not a lot of kills where it was just like very, you know what I mean, like really intense. There were a couple that really were, but not as many as I thought there were going to be. More than a couple, but you know what I mean? You get the drift. It was just less than I thought it was going to be there. But no, it's a fun movie. If you like something, you want to see like a very romantic slasher comedy, Hard Eyes, look no further. And do you want to know, I'll be adding to my Valentine's Day watch list every year.
Yes.
I liked it.
I liked it.
It was fun.
This is going to be a yearly thing. Valentine and My Bloody Valentine.
They talk about St. Valentine, how they chopped his head off, and then the end kill they mirrored that in is excellent too. So killer deaths, not that bad. The deaths of the killers, I mean, like the deaths of the Hard Eye Killers, pretty cool.
Yes, because they die.
They usually die in most of these types of movies.
Sometimes. Anyways, like and follow for more.
Like and follow for more, and see you next video. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.